here we are. This is Sex Love Psychedelics, and I'm your host, Dr. Kat. Bringing you psychosexual conversations that will leave you intellectually turned on and hungry for more.
I think a lot of men may shy away from playfulness or assume that that's a very feminine quality, or that women are supposed to bring the playfulness. And here you're talking about how you're cultivating that. What does that look like for you?
Well, at the moment, it looks like, so I've got an 18-month-old son, and it looks like, very practically, running around with him, crawling around on all fours, making, roaring lion noises and chasing him down the hallway, or putting him in the washing basket and loading him up with his favorite stuffed animals and pulling him, down the hallway like a roller coaster, or just having fun with my son, is what playfulness really practically looks like for me at the moment. That's the easiest way I can tap into it, I suppose.
Yeah.
And I guess beyond that as well, like playfulness with my partner and playfulness in my life, looks like being outdoors a lot more. There was obviously with the pandemic, and we moved and things like that as well, there was kind of a bit of a lack of opportunity to go out and enjoy. We used to love going on walks to like waterfalls and to especially through the forest and things like that. And there's something like sensual and playful about, like, or even chaotic in a sense, like playful in the most intense way, the forest and the woods and things like that. So spending time in those places is something that really helps me like tap into it. And then beyond that as well, like, self-pleasure as well, like just bringing a little bit of playfulness to the way that I explore my body, or the way that I'm an ambassador for Love Honey. So I have a lot of, toys. So I get to be kind of playful and creative in the way that I use toys. And so that's a couple of like the major ways, I suppose. And it's just been something that, like, I just want more joy in my life, like I want more pleasure. I want more joy in my life, and playfulness is a really great avenue for that. And you're 100% right. I personally, as a guy, as a cis-het white guy, very much shied away from playfulness, because I was like, that's unmasculine, or it's like not, I shouldn't need it, because real men don't need to be playful. They need to be strong and stern and, achieving things and not wasting time. And there's definitely a sense of like play being a waste of time because it doesn't achieve anything. And this kind of like covert capitalism way of thinking about like the way we should run our lives. So
boring and just straight to the point. Like,
yeah, exactly. Very like linear. And that's masculinity, right? It's like, well, it's how these guys define masculinity. It's like, it's linear and it's straightforward and it's like moving forward and it's penetrative. And it's like, oh, great. Where's all the time for dancing and playing and pleasure and all these other things that I want in my life? So so that's been something I've had a lot of resistance to, and now it's like something I'm really intentionally trying to cultivate.
Yeah. And to think about play, like play is, I've done a lot of research on play, and play in and of itself is like a authentic expression. Like it's very vulnerable to be playful, and because we don't know how it's going to be received. And especially in this culture that's very, capitalistic or production oriented, task oriented, where this is frivolous, being playful is frivolous, but it also is renewing of our energy versus depleting. So how do we find that, how important that balance is for us to be able to sustain our health, our wellness, our relationships?
Yeah, totally. It's something that can fill your cup up if you let it, right? And I think like that's the, like, and this is so like cliche, because I've heard so many people talk about like self-care and self-pleasure and things like that. And it's like,
hashtag self-care.
Right. That's kind of like the point, right? Is to do something that makes you feel fuller, so that you can then show up for your partner from a place of abundance, right? Like all these buzzwords, but it's like kind of that's like the point of it, is so that you feel filled, so that then you can, give from a full cup, not trying to give from an empty cup. And I often see, like, especially men, especially straight dudes, like they outsource their playfulness to their partner, or they outsource their pleasure to their partner. They outsource their joy to their partner, because that's all, again, within that very limited framework of thinking about like masculinity and femininity. That's like women's roles, right? That's like a woman's job, or that's femininity, is the joy and playfulness and all that sort of stuff. That's not quote unquote masculinity according to them. And so for a lot of these guys, like they have that empty cup and they look to their partner to fill that cup for them. And that's where like some resentment can build from their partner, you know, or that's where some sense of neediness can come from. You know, she might be noticing that, oh, he, you know, needs me to do this for him, needs me to be playful, needs me to be, you know, whatever. And that can create tension between two people, and more people if there's more people in the relationship. But like, that's something I'm really passionate about helping men do, is like fill their cup up in terms of like meeting their own pleasure needs, or like diversifying their intimacy needs, or all these other things that like a lot of men actually rely on women for. It's like, well, let's try and find that in yourself, so that there isn't like this grasping at women for, you know, or your partner for these particular type of needs that you have.
Well, that was fun. Thanks for tuning in, lovers. And if you want to experience more ecstasy and sexual liberation, head over to sexlovepsychedelics.com and learn about how you can join me for any one of my online or live events. And while you're there, grab my free guide on sex and psychedelics. Remember, this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Please contact your healthcare provider and local law before pursuing any of the products or psychedelics discussed. And one final note here. I make this show specifically for you. If you're loving the show, then be sure to leave me a review in iTunes or Spotify to let me know. Happy to be here and happy to serve. I'll see you next time on Sex Love Psychedelics.